Have you ever just felt fundamentally out of sync with the world around you? Like you somehow missed a memo that literally everyone else naturally understood? Well, today's explainer is going to show you exactly why that feeling isn't just in your head. It's actually built right into your biology, your modern schedule, and your psychology. So let's pull the camera all the way back from our daily anxieties for a second and look at the entire human species.
I mean, just think about the physical reality of our species for a second. We are the only mammals on Earth that severely burn in our own sun. We struggle dangerously with childbirth, and we suffer from massive, widespread allergies to our own environment. It's weird, right? This biological awkwardness is so profound that it actually led brilliant scientists like Francis Crick, the Nobel-winning co-discoverer of DNA, no less, to seriously wonder if we were seeded here from somewhere else. Like he literally questioned if we were essentially an invasive species just dropped onto a planet we weren't built for.
And to really ground this wild premise, consider this staggering little statistic. 80% of humans will experience chronic back pain at some point in their lives. 80%. You know, when a structural flaw is that absolutely universal across a population, it's not a personal failure, and it's definitely not just bad posture. It's a blueprint problem. So the crucial point here is that mainstream biology actually has a brilliant, highly grounded answer for all this uncomfortable friction, and it's called evolutionary mismatch. Basically, it's the scientific concept that our bodies and our brains were built for environments, challenges, and timelines that, well, they simply don't exist anymore.
It's like a giant biological puzzle. We aren't alien invaders, but rather, we're animals whose biology just accelerated way too fast for our own wiring to handle. Take sunburns, for example. We get those because our ancestors traded protective fur for the ability to sweat, just so they could outrun prey on the hot savannas. Bad backs? Well, our spines are essentially horizontal bridges that evolution haphazardly retrofitted for walking upright. And dangerous childbirth happens because our human brains grew incredibly fast, completely outpacing the evolutionary widening of the birth canal. We are, essentially, walking around in a prototype that never got its final update.
Section 1. Our hunter-gatherer roots.
Let's see how this physical mismatch bleeds right into our daily schedules. You know, we invented the modern grind. We created this system of work that someone else owns, clocking 40-plus hours a week for a boss, just endlessly stressing over bills. But for roughly 300,000 years, ancient humans like the Hadza or the Jung Bushmen lived entirely differently. They possessed almost zero material wealth, sure, but they had an absolute abundance of time.
Just consider this incredible breakdown. It only took our ancestors about 2.5 hours a day to hunt, gather, and do the actual work of survival. Just 2.5 hours. That left the vast majority of their day entirely wide open. And they used that time to nap, to repair tools, and to exist within this deeply connected, inescapable social web. Their social technology was highly advanced, yet remarkably simple. They didn't build prisons, they didn't have formal courts. Instead, they maintained perfect social equality through constant conversation and, honestly, some pretty clever expectation subversion. Like they would ruthlessly mock a successful hunter's big kill just to prevent his ego from becoming a threat to the group. They shared absolutely everything to survive. And if a conflict ever got too hot, they simply voted with their feet and walked to another camp. So, if you ever feel this chronic modern ache, you know, that quiet anxiety of lying awake, wondering why you feel so drained while working a job you don't really believe in, just to pay for a life that never quite arrives, well, it's because you inherited the exact nervous system of a hunter-gatherer. But we're forcing that ancient wiring into a world that's been completely stripped of deep community and natural rhythms. Section 2. The late bloomer personality.
This brings us to a deeply psychological mismatch. The legendary Carl Jung believed that some people possess an inner world so intensely vivid that adapting early to society's shallow milestones literally feels like suffocation. As he put it, forcing a fit too early pushes them into the wrong shape. Their psyche absolutely demands a much slower, deeply internal path that Jung called individuation, which is basically the process of becoming your true, unborrowed self.
While everyone else is racing through their 20s and effortlessly hitting all these expected social milestones, these individuals look, at least from the outside, like they are totally stagnating. But they're actually doing massive, invisible structural work. They are enduring profound loneliness as a necessary developmental stage and completely refusing false alignment. This agonizingly slow incubation period is exactly what prevents those hollow, devastating midlife crises that early adapters so often slam right into.
I really want to speak directly to you here.
If you've always felt painfully out of sync with your peers, like you somehow missed the starting gun for adulthood, your soul wasn't broken. Not at all. It was just incubating. You are not behind. You are simply on a completely different schedule, doing the quiet, foundational work necessary to build a life that actually belongs to you.
Section 3. The Paradox of Helping. Now let's shift gears and look at how being out of sync infects our social dynamics. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche actually warned that helping someone in a major way creates a really dangerous emotional debt that severely wounds their ego. And the chain reaction here is incredibly rapid. It triggers a shift from initial gratitude straight into a heavy, crushing burden. That debt breeds feelings of inferiority, which almost inevitably curdles right into resentment and betrayal. Basically, your help inadvertently becomes a glaring mirror reflecting their own weakness.
So to protect your relationships, you actually have to consciously subvert your own altruistic instincts. You have to stop trying to be the savior who solves everything, because that just creates a toxic dependency. Instead, you've got to shift to enabling. Involve them in the solution, set really firm boundaries, and encourage their autonomy. True power in a relationship isn't about saving someone. It's about giving them the tools so they literally no longer need saving.
Section 4. Crossing the species divide.
For our final thread in this explainer, let's zoom all the way out to see how the rest of the natural world views our messy species in moments of crisis. When a well-meaning human approaches a trapped wild animal to try and rescue it, that animal's biology is absolutely screaming that its worst nightmare has arrived. Just look at the biological timeline of this. Within 1 single minute, cortisol, the ultimate stress hormone, completely saturates their blood. By 3 minutes, their heart rate quadruples and their muscles lock up entirely. To a trapped wolf or a whale, we don't read as rescuers. We read strictly as apex predators moving in for the kill.
But then, an absolutely incredible psychological transition happens. By moving slowly, making non-aggressive eye contact, and refusing to mimic the direct strike of a predator, humans provide a behavioral pattern that the animal's ancient brain simply cannot classify. Because the expected attack never arrives, their biological crisis response completely loses its anchor, causing their blinding panic to just miraculously stall out. And what happens after the rescue is what truly baffles scientists. These animals consistently stick around when every single instinct in their bodies says they should flee. We see wolves holding calm eye contact, juvenile elephants physically examining their rescuers, and humpback whales lingering to interact with divers. These behaviors serve absolutely zero biological survival function. None.
Think about the sheer complexity of an elephant trunk for a second. It is packed with 40,000 individual muscles and nerve endings. That gives it a sensitivity comparable to human fingertips. So, when an elephant extends that trunk to touch the person who just pulled it from the mud, it is not a random reactive flinch. It is a highly deliberate, emotionally charged physical examination.
It turns out, animals like the 50-ton humpback whale share our exact neurological hardware for profound empathy. They possess spindle neurons. These are specialized brain cells we long assumed were completely exclusive to primates. This incredible biological architecture is exactly what allows a whale to patiently hold still while strangers with knives cut it free, completely overriding millions of years of deeply ingrained prey instinct.
So, what does all of this actually tell us? Well, it tells us that we are a beautifully, spectacularly flawed species. We are creatures constantly navigating the friction of our own evolutionary mismatch. We're constantly feeling out of sync, carrying the heavy weight of consciousness in a universe we are desperately trying to understand.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Despite our modern aches, our tangled social timelines, and our constantly failing bodies, the wild world can somehow look past our apex predator exterior and recognize the profound capacity for empathy within us. And if they can do that, isn't it time we extended that exact same grace to ourselves